Okay, so the next feeling that we'll touch base is, I would say, probably one of the most important feelings that we need to grasp again, because it's the feeling we spend much of our lives trying to get away from. It's called healthy shame. Healthy shame is the inborn feeling of knowing that we're needy. It's the inborn recognition that recognizes without words that without you, I won't make it. So healthy shame is the dependency feeling. When you and I are born, we can't do anything but out of our healthy shame, out of our neediness, cry out, reach out, take in for life's sake. Without that the needs being met, we won't make it. Now, so this neediness, dependency is neediness, is something that we need to keep. We will always be in need of God and others in our lives to be able to live this life fully, to be able to maintain and fulfill whatever we're called to do in terms of the mission of our lives. But what happens is when somebody looks at you and says, well, you're needy, how do you interpret somebody saying you're needy? Man, you're needy. Do you go, yes, I am, absolutely I am? Or do you go, do you say something like, yeah, I'm working on that, or I'm trying not to be like that, or I need to get control of that, or I need to stop that. Now, there is a neediness that is a demand that somebody do something to make sure I don't have to experience my life. That's not neediness, that's demand and running from dealing with my life on life's terms. But there's another kind of neediness that's inborn, and if you don't have your needs met, you won't make it. Now, a grown-up version of neediness, a grown-up version of healthy shame sounds like this. I make mistakes. So do you. I don't have all the answers. I have some, but what answers do you have? I'm not God, and you aren't either. So I'm going to get out of the God business, and I support you doing the same thing, and I'm not going to look for you to be God in my life, but I would look for you to show me who God is through your life, okay? And then the final statement of healthy shame is, I need you, and you need me. And that I need you is very often a very frightening statement. I need you. Makes us vulnerable to letting go of control and putting another person at a place when they can say no. And that no is the threat on some level of our needs not being met. And that threat of our needs not being met puts me in a position where we experience ourselves a lot of times as desperate. And in our desperation, we will go towards survival instead of remaining vulnerable. Okay, then I'm great. I'll take care of it myself. I won't need anyone. I'll get away from having a need. And then I will try not to make mistakes, which will put me in a position of needing others. I'll try not to need anyone so I don't have to experience rejection. I will try to become God, perfect and powerful, so that I won't be in a position of not knowing the answers. And I'll try to have all the answers so I won't have to look to you with my questions. Okay? So that condition of rejecting our neediness is called toxic shame. Okay? When I reject the fact that I am human, those four characteristics that I named are the four qualities of being human that are never going to change. You're going to spend the rest of your life making mistakes. When I'm 85, I'm going to be asking a lot of the same questions about life that I asked at 25. What's going to happen? What will turn up? Who will be there? Will it turn out okay? How am I going to die? Will I make it? How are my kids going to be? Instead of how am I going to be, how are my kids going to be? How are their hopefully grandkids? Or I'm going to be asking the same questions like, will my life matter? Does it matter? At 85 and 25 and 45. Well, see, this is the difficult thing, and it arouses healthy shame. It's going to take a lifetime for me to learn how to live. And almost all of us, we have this idea that we're going to climb the mountain, and there's a flat spot on top where we build a cabin and go, okay, the people I want to be here are here, and everybody else is down there. We want to get to a place where we don't have to struggle. We don't have to be in need. We don't have to ultimately be in prayer. We want to be in a place that's called heaven. And while you're here, you're not there. So there's no cabin. There are many places to rest called daily refilling, replenishment, redemption, restoration, all those daily RE experiences. Anytime you pour out, you need to be filled up. And you can't pour yourself out climbing to the mountain of perfection because you're not going to get there. So it takes a lifetime to learn how to live, number one. And number two, like I said earlier, the best we ever get is clumsy. The best we're ever going to get is imperfect. We're always going to be WIPs, works in progress. We're not going to escape neediness of each other, having to face myself and God. So not only are we works in progress, but in being a work in progress, it's literally like we are always like giraffes running on ice. Is a picture, sort of a picture I use because giraffes and ice don't seem to fit. And then giraffes running on ice, we know what that looks like. A lot of long legs and a lot of tangled knots. It's just going to be clumsy. Do you realize that even the best surgeons in the world have to face that they are practicing medicine? Doctors practice medicine. So you're going under anesthesia and the doctor says to you, I want you to know, you need to know I'm practicing. So this could turn out really badly because it's practice. Practice is where we make all our mistakes. But the best it's ever going to get is practice. And that is scary, lonely, hurtful. It puts us in a place of needing. So the better we are at needing each other, the stronger we are at living life well. We can do together so much more than we'll ever do apart in fellowship with God, in fellowship with each other, and in fellowship with how God made me. Now, fellowship turns into a ship of fellows. Do you get that? Fellowship is a ship of fellows. And what is it that we're doing, and especially, say, in ministry so often, you're called together with a common mission headed towards a place that you hope to get to. So fellowship is how the ship runs upon an ocean of all kinds of difficulties and storms and calm days and threatening days. And you have to have people in their appropriate authority doing what they're called to do and made to do. Now, the way Healthy Shame works, I don't have all the answers and you don't either. I have some, and so do you. And I'm asking and calling you to bring your answers, your experience, your intuition, your gifts to the forefront. You put your gifts on the table. They're not all the gifts, they're some of the gifts. Now what that means is that I have some and you have some. So let's say you have peas, you have firewood, you have a match, you have water, you have a pot, you have beef, you have carrots, you have potatoes. What do we have if we'll throw it all together? A stew. And then we have a community pot we eat. But if all you've got is water and all I've got is peas, and we don't put our peas and water together, and somebody offer a pot, all you've got is survival. But in the sharing of our equal dependency, we wind up having a community. Now we're back to fellowship. Each person in their giftedness, each person in their appropriate authority, showing up and giving what you've got. And no one is everything, but someone is leading. And our capacity to submit our gifts to a common mission that someone has been called to lead, who is submitted to God leading, can make things happen that are amazing. And it all starts with neediness, facing limitations, knowing I'm a work in progress, knowing I'm never going to get there, and we're on a ship of fellows, and everybody needs to pull their weight. Pull their weight in neediness. Pull their weight in the gift of what neediness brings is humility. The gift of healthy shame is humility. The beauty of humility, it means really ultimately dirt. I'm made of dirt. But this dirt is special dirt. This dirt, let's just call it stardust. Let's call it the dirt of creation. God reached into himself and out of himself created. And out of his creation pulled the stardust of dust together and formed us. And Psalm 103 says beautifully, God remembers that we are made of dust. And he is slow to anger in terms of pushing, slow to giving up on us. And he remembers that we're made of dust. And so he's very compassionate and merciful towards us, to the point that he even separates our sins as far as the east is from the west. He's describing the great ocean of disappearance. He knows how we are. And the way that we remain alive to how we are is through, I'm made out of dust. I'm never going to get as great as I want to be or as good as I want to be. I will always be a creature living in the gratitude of mercy I've been given. Healthy shame. It's just amazing. And this is what we spend our lives running from, because so many ways, if a person is dependent, now it's amazing is every single human being is dependent. You're going to depend on something, someone, someplace, for sure. Either you're going to depend upon how you're made, who made you, and whose you're made to be, or you're going to depend on something that makes being needy go away. Alcohol works. Drugs work. Sex addiction works. Lust works. I mean, control, work addiction, religious addiction. Everything I can do to make me more powerful than how I was born, I'll do. Because it takes away this dependence, the possible humiliation of being human, and being in a position of rejection through the vulnerability of being in need. How important is neediness? And we'll get to this next when we talk about needs. But there's a passage, Isaiah 55, it's really 2 and 3. But it starts out like this. It says, for all of you, it says, come, for all of you who are thirsty, come. Then it says, for all of you who don't have money, come and buy and eat. So do you hear the contradiction? If you're thirsty and you're hungry, come, which means it's here. But for all of you who don't have any money, come and buy what's here. So either that's a misprint in the Bible, you come and buy, you don't have any money, come and buy something. All of a sudden I'm in a conflict. You told me to come and buy something, but you said already, if I don't have any money, I can come and somehow I'm going to get it, but I don't have any money, but you're telling me to buy it. What are you talking about? And it hit me one day. It's so obvious. We live in a spiritual economy. If you're going to live from the inside out as God made us, God's currency in the spiritual economy is neediness. Of course, we don't have money. We don't have what it takes to succeed. We can't buy our way or perform our way into the gifts that we've been given by being born, created by God, and called to what we're called to. We can't make it happen. Our neediness is the currency that, quote unquote, purchases God's availability. That's wild. If you think about it, our neediness, the greater we are at needing, the more powerfully present our God. It doesn't mean that you turn yourself, well, I'm just nothing. No, you're someone and somebody called by grace through faith, not by our own works, into a great, great task.